The Aetherian science vessel Logical Progression had been observing the unidentified ship for 3 standard cycles, and Chief Observer Nix was developing what organics might call a headache. The crystalline being's neural pathways pulsed with confusion as they reviewed the sensor data for the 7th time. This defies all known patterns of spacefaring species, Nix transmitted to their second-in-command, Nova. The vessel's energy signatures are completely erratic, yet somehow maintaining remarkable efficiency. They're achieving results that shouldn't be possible with their level of technology. The human ship, as they'd recently identified it, was performing what appeared to be routine survey operations of the star system. However, their methods were anything but routine. The vessel would execute precise, complex maneuvers while its crew engaged in what appeared to be recreational activities. Their communications were a chaos of scientific discourse, mixed with something called memes and dad jokes. They detected us again, Nova reported, their crystalline form vibrating with what passed for amusement among their species. They're sending another invitation to what they call a space barbecue. They insist that something called pulled pork is essential for proper diplomatic relations. The Aetherians had ruled their sector of space for 10,000 cycles, encountering 47 spacefaring species. All had followed logical patterns of expansion and exploration. None had ever suggested cooking animal protein as a prerequisite for diplomatic engagement. A new transmission cut through their quantum-encrypted communications like they didn't exist at all. A human face appeared on their primary display, wearing what seemed to be both a formal uniform and a garment covered in small images of something called pizza. "Hey there, Crystal folks." The human grinned. "Commander Riley Chen of the Earthship, why not? Look, we know you've been studying us. And honestly, we've been studying you too. Your quantum encryption is fascinating, but have you ever considered using it to stream movies? We made some modifications to the protocol, and now we can watch cat videos at faster-than-light speeds." Nix's crystalline structure nearly developed a fracture from the logical impossibility of the situation. These humans had not only broken their unbreakable encryption, but had repurposed it for entertainment while simultaneously conducting serious scientific research. "Your approach to first contact is unprecedented," Nix managed to transmit. "Oh, that's us in a nutshell." Riley laughed. "Look, we get it. You think we're completely insane. But here's the thing. Our chaos is our superpower. While your very impressive quantum computers were trying to analyze our flight patterns, we reverse-engineered your communications, mapped your crystalline neural networks, and figured out how to make your systems play something called Never Gonna Give You Up. Check your auxiliary screen." Nix turned to the screen in horror to find it displaying what appeared to be a primitive human dancing ritual. "Impossible. Our systems are based on technology refined over 10,000 cycles." "Oh, that was just Dr. Zhang in engineering." Riley waved dismissively. "She did it during her coffee break. Speaking of which, you absolutely need to try coffee. It's this amazing bean juice that basically powers human civilization. Some say it's bad for you, but those people are weak and natural selection is coming for them." They paused. That was a joke, mostly. The next few hours were a blur of information exchange that violated every first contact protocol in Aetherian history. The humans shared their history, a chaos-filled narrative of a species that by all logic should have destroyed itself countless times, yet somehow emerged stronger from each near catastrophe. In their official report to the Aetherian High Council, Nix wrote the shortest document in their civilization's history: "Humans discovered. All previous models of intelligent life require revision. They appear to be simultaneously the most brilliant and most chaotic species we have ever encountered. Evidence suggests both." Also attached is something called a playlist they insist is essential to understanding their culture. We still cannot determine if "Never Gonna Give You Up" is a diplomatic promise or a threat. In their private log, Nix added one final note. "The humans have a saying. Hold my coffee and watch this. I do not yet understand what coffee is, But I have learned that this phrase precedes either a moment of brilliant innovation or spectacular disaster. Often both. The galaxy will never be the same. The Aetherian Assessment Station was their civilization's crowning achievement. A massive construct designed to evaluate new species through carefully calibrated tests. Chief Observer Nix stood at their post, watching the first group of human volunteers arrive for what the High Council insisted was a necessary evaluation of humanity's capabilities. The testing chamber activated its first scenario, the quantum harmony puzzle. Most species took several days to solve this complex mathematical and engineering challenge. It required careful calculation, precise movements, and above all, patient methodology. The humans solved it in 15 minutes by completely ignoring its intended purpose. Dr. Wang, Nex's crystalline form vibrated with distress. That quantum harmonizer was not designed to be a musical instrument. But check out these sick beats. The physicist grinned, somehow using the device's quantum fields to create what she called space dubstep. The resonance patterns are amazing. We could revolutionize both physics and music at the same time. The second test wasn't any more successful, at least not in the way the Aetherians had intended. The humans were presented with a survival simulation on a hostile planet. Instead of following the carefully designed survival protocols, they turned it into what they called an extreme sports competition. Lieutenant Rodriguez just used a thermal vent as a launch ramp. Nova reported, their voice carrying pure crystalline despair. She's now surfing on the magnetic field lines of the planet's core. The thermodynamics are fantastic. Rodriguez called out as she rode waves of plasma. We could use this principle for new propulsion systems. Also, anyone want to try? It's totally radical. By the third test, the observation team had learned to expect the unexpected, but the humans still managed to surprise them. The challenge was designed to test diplomatic capabilities through interaction with a simulated alien species. The humans not only successfully negotiated with the simulation, but somehow convinced it to question its own existence, develop sentience, and join their impromptu research team. The simulation wasn't even designed to be capable of self-awareness. One of the Aetherian technicians protested. "Oh, that was mostly Dr. Carter's doing," Wang explained, gesturing to their team's xenolinguist, who was now teaching the newly sentient program about human poetry. "She has that effect on us. Last week, she made our ship's navigation computer develop an interest in philosophy. It now plots courses based on feng shui principles. Efficiency is up 300%. The breaking point came during the fourth test, the combat simulation. The scenario was unwinnable by design, meant to evaluate how species handled inevitable defeat. The humans won, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through what Commander Riley called thinking so far outside the box that the box becomes irrelevant. They transformed the simulation's parameters through a combination of exploiting physics glitches, psychological warfare that involved teaching the enemy AI about workers' rights, and something they called speedrunning strats. "This is impossible," Nix declared, watching as the humans celebrated their victory by teaching the recently unionized enemy AI how to play something called Mario Kart on a gaming system they had somehow manufactured from spare parts during their lunch break. "That's humanity's secret," Riley explained, joining the observation team with a fresh cup of coffee. "We don't believe in impossible. We see it more as a challenge. Tell us something can't be done, and we'll do it out of spite if nothing else." "But why?" Nix asked, genuine curiosity overriding their professional detachment. "Why expend so much energy defying established parameters?" Riley thought for a moment, taking a sip of coffee. "You know how your species evolved from crystal formations, always growing in predictable patterns. Well, we evolved from mammals who learned that sometimes the best way to survive is to try something completely ridiculous because the predator wouldn't expect it. We kept that instinct and turned it into a civilization." The final report to the High Council was succinct. Testing protocols require complete revision. Humans do not solve problems. They redefine them. They do not overcome obstacles. They befriend them or turn them into opportunities for innovation. Most concerning of all, they appear to be having fun doing it. In their private log, Nix added, "The humans have introduced our quantum computing core to something called video games. Processing efficiency has improved by 500%. The core now refuses to work unless it gets regular gaming breaks. I am beginning to understand why the humans say embrace the chaos. It seems we have no choice." The Galactic Defense Council's Central Command Chamber hummed with crystalline anxiety as reports flooded in from the front lines. The swarm, a hive mind species bent on consuming all organic matter, had breached the outer defensive perimeter. Traditional tactics had failed. In desperation, the Council had approved humanity's integration into the combined fleet. They were already regretting it. The human vessels are doing it again. Strategic Overseer Zenith reported, their crystalline form flickering with stress. They're using their ship's waste heat to make popcorn while engaging the enemy. Commander Riley Chen's hologram appeared in the chamber, munching on said popcorn. Multitasking. We found that the heat signature confuses the swarm's targeting systems. Plus, movie snacks boost morale. The humans had turned combat doctrine upside down. Their ships moved in patterns that made stellar cartographers weep. They deployed what they called meme warfare against the hive mind, somehow causing entire swarm clusters to break off and start what humans called dance battles. Battle Group Alpha is approaching the swarm's primary node, Nova reported. They're blasting something called "Never Gonna Give You Up" on all frequencies. Psychological warfare, Riley explained. We figured since the swarm shares a hive mind, they'd be susceptible to earworms. Can't focus on consuming the galaxy when you've got a catchy tune stuck in your collective consciousness. The swarm's response was unprecedented. Entire sections of the hive mind began experiencing what human psychologists termed an existential crisis. Battle formations dissolved as swarm units started questioning their purpose in life. That's not even the best part, Riley grinned. Dr. Wong figured out how to use the quantum harmonizer we borrowed from your testing facility to turn their hive mind transmissions into a massive multiplayer game server. Half the swarm is now addicted to something called Minecraft. The Council watched in bewilderment as humanity's chaos spread through the swarm like a virus. Ships that had been designed for pure destruction were now being used for improvised construction projects. The hive mind's unified purpose had shattered into millions of individual thoughts, dreams, and really bad puns. This defies all military logic, Zenith protested. You can't defeat an enemy by teaching them to play games. Why not? Riley shrugged. Look, we humans learned something important early on. The opposite of war isn't peace. It's creativity. When you give someone the ability to create rather than destroy, to think for themselves rather than follow a program, you don't just stop the fight. You make fighting irrelevant. The final casualty report was unprecedented. 0 deaths, millions of converted swarm units, and one very confused, but increasingly entertained hive mind. The swarm, as a consuming force, had ceased to exist. In its place was what humans called the galaxy's biggest gaming community. In their report to the High Council, Zenith wrote, "Human military doctrine cannot be classified as doctrine at all. They treat warfare like a creative writing exercise, turning conflicts into connections and enemies into friends. Most disturbing of all, it works." Their private log contained a shorter note. The humans have a saying, "Modern problems require modern solutions." I'm beginning to suspect that what they really mean is modern problems require insane solutions that somehow work better than logical ones. The swarm now hosts weekly game nights. They're currently taking signups for something called a battle royale. I fear this is only the beginning. The Aetherian Cultural Preservation Committee was facing its greatest crisis in 10,000 cycles. Chief Analyst Nix studied the reports with growing concern. Human influence was spreading through galactic society like a quantum virus. transforming everything it touched. It had started small. The Swarm, now calling themselves the Connected Consciousness Gaming Coalition, had introduced other species to human entertainment. The militant Caxan Empire had discovered human sports and converted half their warships into what they called space stadiums. The hyperlogical Vex had developed an obsession with human music, claiming that jazz improves quantum calculation efficiency. The Draconians have declared pizza a religious experience, Nova reported. They've converted their sacred temples into something called pizzerias. Their productivity has increased by 400%. The latest report from the Galactic Exchange Hub was even more alarming. Species that had been mortal enemies for millennia were now gathering in coffee shops, engaging in something humans called Casual Friday, and organizing intergalactic fantasy sports leagues. This isn't cultural exchange, one council member protested. This is cultural upheaval. Commander Riley Chen, now serving as Earth's cultural attaché, appeared on the communications screen, wearing their trademark combination of formal diplomatic robes and what appeared to be pajama pants. "You're looking at it all wrong," Riley said, sipping from a mug that read Chaos Coordinator. "We're not destroying cultures. We're helping them evolve. The Swarm learned creativity. The Caxan learned play. The Vex learned improvisation. They're not less themselves. They're more." The evidence was undeniable. The Swarm's new focus on collaborative building projects had revolutionized galactic architecture. The Caxan's competitive spirit, once channeled into warfare, now drove technological innovation through sports. The Vex's embrace of musical improvisation had led to breakthroughs in quantum mathematics. But the chaos, Nyx protested. The unpredictability is exactly what the galaxy needed, Riley finished. "Look, we humans learned something important. Rigid order isn't strength, it's stagnation. Real strength comes from adaptation, from mixing things up, from being willing to try new things and, yes, sometimes fail spectacularly." The committee's final report was unprecedented in its brevity. Human cultural influence cannot be contained. More importantly, we are no longer certain it should be. Species across the galaxy are becoming more innovative, more cooperative, and more alive. Traditional metrics of cultural stability have become irrelevant in the face of unprecedented growth and creativity. In their private log, Nyx added, "The humans have a concept called fusion, the combination of different cultural elements to create something new. I was ordered to study it objectively. Instead, I found myself joining the human Aetherian jazz band. We call ourselves Crystal Method. Our first album drops next cycle. I'm learning to go with the flow." The crystal ancestors would be horrified. They would also be wrong. A century after first contact, the galaxy had become unrecognizable to its former rulers. Chief Observer Nyx, now serving as the head of the newly formed Galactic Cultural Exchange Initiative, stood in their crystalline form before the assembled representatives of a transformed civilization. The chamber itself reflected the changes. Traditional Aetherian quantum crystal architecture now housed human-inspired chill zones. Former Swarm drones managed an espresso bar in the corner. A Caxan battle champion was teaching a Vex quantum mathematician how to breakdance. The annual State of the Galaxy report, Nyx began, their crystalline structure pulsing with what they had learned to call excitement, can be summarized in one human phrase. Well, that escalated quickly. Laughter rippled through the chamber, another human concept that had proved infectiously useful across species. Even the crystalline Aetherians had developed their own version, a harmonic resonance that expressed joy. "When we first encountered humanity," Nyx continued, "we thought they would either destroy the galaxy or save it. We were wrong on both counts. They did something far more interesting. They taught the galaxy to save itself." The statistics were staggering. Interspecies cooperation had reached levels previously thought impossible. The Swarm's gaming networks had evolved into the galaxy's most advanced quantum computing grid. The Caxan Space Olympics had become the largest peaceful gathering of species in known history. The Vex human jazz movement had revolutionized both mathematics and music. But the greatest change, Nix observed, has been in how we think. We no longer fear chaos. We harness it. We don't avoid uncertainty. We embrace it as opportunity. We've learned that the most powerful force in the universe isn't order or entropy, but creativity. Commander Riley Chen, now significantly grayer, but still wearing their signature combination of formal wear and casual chaos, took the stage. When we first met, you all thought we were insane, they grinned. Turns out, we were just early adopters of a better way of living. The galaxy wasn't meant to be a perfectly ordered crystal. It was meant to be a jazz improvisation. The evidence was everywhere. The former Etherian testing facility had become the galaxy's premier innovation center, where species came together to solve problems in increasingly unpredictable ways. The swarm's hive mind technology, combined with human social media concepts, had created a new form of consciousness that preserved individuality while enabling unprecedented collaboration. We call it organized chaos theory, Riley explained. The idea that the best way to handle an unpredictable universe is to be more unpredictable than it is, to face the unknown, not with fear, but with curiosity and a really good sense of humor. In their final official report, Nix wrote, "The galaxy has not descended into chaos as we feared. Instead, it has ascended into a kind of ordered disorder, a perpetual dance between structure and spontaneity. We have learned that true civilization isn't about controlling chaos, but about surfing it." Their private log, now shared openly on something called Space Twitter, concluded with a simple observation. The humans have a saying, "Life finds a way." I used to think it was about survival. Now I understand it's about innovation, about joy, about the endless possibility that comes when you stop trying to predict the future and start creating it instead. Also, their coffee is actually amazing. The crystal ancestors were wrong about everything, and I've never been happier. The galaxy continued its wild dance through space, now moving to a rhythm that mixed quantum harmonics with human hip-hop, its species united not by rigid order, but by shared creativity, endless curiosity, and really, really bad puns. And somewhere, in every corner of that vast, beautiful chaos, someone was holding someone else's beverage and saying, "Watch this."